Hello, welcome to Golden Black Legacy. And today I'm here with one outstanding individual who has been doing a very great work, impacting our community. And then his journey has been a wonderful one, and he is here to share with us. But before we zone into the conversation, I would like you to subscribe to this channel. Share this channel with your family and friends so we all grow together. My name is Kobby, and I'm here with Ola. Ola, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
And I'm also happy you took the time.
Of course.
Yeah, to meet me, because it hasn't been easy trying to get people on this podcast. But then you've gotten the time for me to sit with me to share your story.
I'm always happy to collaborate with a fellow artist as well.
Yeah. So tell me, who is Ola?
Well, where do I start? So I was born in, Ola is short for Olamide actually. I decided to have people call me Ola when I came to Canada because it sounds like a lot in Spanish, like Hola, and it's also a very great conversation starter. So when I introduce myself as Hola, some people think I'm saying hello in Spanish.
I see.
So the thing is that when I say that about situations where they say, sorry, I don't speak Spanish, and in my head I'm like, I know, that's my name. But of course I don't always say that part out loud. But sometimes I do say it out loud, and then they're like, oh, so it's a very great conversation starter. And then I realized that the name is also common in like Poland, apparently, or Ukraine. They have the name Ola. Of course, different meanings, and it's short for, like I said, Olamide. So I was born in Nigeria, and I moved to Canada at a very young age. I moved there alone back in 2008.
2008?
2008, yes.
Wow.
I think a long time now. And so I lived in this place called Vernon, BC. So it's equivalent to like St. Albert in like Alberta. Yeah, it's a very small, I guess you can say, town. I lived with a homestay family. I stayed in Vernon, BC for about 8 months. So I did like my grade 12 there to get used to like education system in Canada, combined with my like high school already graduating in Nigeria. So obviously coming to a place like this at such a young age without knowing anybody in Canada was quite interesting, and it was challenging at first. But the thing was that the last couple of years back home in Nigeria, I was sent to boarding school actually, which I think that in hindsight actually helped me a lot with independence and being able to grow and know, like, be thrown into the deep end really fast and being able to survive and adapt. So while I was in Vernon, and then I had to figure out things for myself, and I did grade 12 and so many other things. And from there, I applied to universities and stuff like that, and then found myself in Edmonton in 2009. And I've pretty much been here ever since, just figuring out life. Like I said, didn't have any family here, and I just had to make friends along the way and try to meet the right people that pointed me to the right spot and stuff like that. And many years later, and done university now, working full time, and have a few other things going on.
Okay, so you saying you were actually in school in Nigeria, you graduated in Nigeria and came into Canada, right?
That's correct. So
what program did you study in Nigeria?
So it's more like high school, actually.
Oh, okay,
so it was high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I should probably say that. So I came to Canada at the age of 16 on my own. So that's, so it was high school. So I never did university at all in Nigeria. And so after doing the high school, and then I had to do grade 12 back in Canada. You had to get used to the education system. So the combination of my high school and my grade 12 year was what I had to use in applying for university to get that like Canadian experience and stuff like that. Yes.
Okay, so coming into Canada at that very young age, what were some of the struggles that you went through?
Well, I would say that like I said, mentioned before, going to doing like the boarding school back in Nigeria for the last couple of years, high school, were very, very important because it taught me like discipline, being able to adapt, survive, being able to have just the right social like skills, to be able to ask questions and be inquisitive. So it made like And when I actually came and lived in Vernon, BC, though I stayed with a homestay family, I was lucky enough I found some of my country mates back then, so that helped. But we're all international students, so several of us came from Nigeria, but we were not all Nigerians. We were French people, Chinese, and all other countries and races as well too. But we all kind of had similar struggles and stuff. So part of the struggle would definitely be in I guess the good thing was obviously British English is Nigerian first language, so it helped, because I'd imagine that if someone coming from Ivory Coast might have more challenging scenario if they came to Edmonton and not Montreal, because this is the English part of Canada.
Yeah.
So luckily I didn't have that problem, and I could speak English properly, even though it was still challenging, because growing up in Nigeria we speak British English. So,
and the accent is also
and there's the accent and also the words, the choice of words, and I found myself in a lot of embarrassing situations. I remember the first time I used the word singlet over here.
Yeah.
They had no idea.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't know, they didn't know either.
Yeah.
So I used the word singlet, and I was like, what? So I went to Spot Check and I asked them. They had no idea what I meant. And finally, after about 30 minutes of arguing, when it didn't seem like I knew what I was talking about, they finally Googled it, and they were like, oh, you mean a wife beater? That was the first time in my life I heard the word wife beater. And I was like, what? In God's name is the wife beater? So someone had to say, oh, well, we don't call it that, we call it tank tops. So after that, then there was the funniest scenario, but more awkward one, which was trousers. So I said I wanted to go to the mall, I wanted to buy trousers and stuff. But a friend of mine at that time, he's not a friend, but at the time was a stranger, but he said, hey, when you're all settled in, let's go to the mall and buy some pants. That's what he said to me. And I said, why would I need your help to buy some pants? I know my size and all of those things. And then of course he was like, yeah, I know that, but I'm just gonna have to drive you to the mall and show you around and stuff like that. It took a while before we both realized that we meant the same thing, but we're using separate words. Because pants obviously would be actual underwear. And why would I need your help? But he meant actual pants, trousers, dress pants. And after some time, it took me a while to realize that I would have to get used to some of the, not just the education system, but the choice of words being used in this part of the world. And so that would be a challenge, and also being able to not stick to people, let's say for example, me being Nigerian, you being Ghanaian. Human nature, when you go to a foreign place, you want to look for people that look like you, or from the same place. It's human nature, and that's absolutely fine. Indians do it, Chinese people do it, white, everybody does it. It's human nature. But the thing that is detrimental is that some people do not get out of that zone. So what I mean by that is that a Nigerian coming here at the age of 15, 16, and a Nigerian that was born here, and a Nigerian that comes here at the age of 30, all three separate people. The Nigerian that is maybe born here, maybe all came here at the age of 2 or something, they might as well have been born here, so their thought process is changed. Now for me, because at the age of 16, I knew left from right, right from wrong. And in Nigeria, you grow up so fast in the streets of Africa generally. So a Nigerian that is 16 is probably equivalent to it depends on your upbringing, it might be equivalent to a 20, 21-year-old over here, And so for me, I had the values of being a Nigerian, respect, culture, values, all those things. So coming to this place, my brain wasn't fully developed. So I was still able to respond to stimuli and, incorporate the education and all the things I'm learning from Canada and combine it with the Nigerian one and get the best of both worlds. But someone that comes here at the age of 30 or something, whatever good or bad habits they have from their country, they're taking it with them here. So it's a lot harder to get rid. And this applies to anyone from any country. And that's why sometimes the problem is that some of these people, the older people, when they only make friends with people from where they're from, even when they come here, they almost really never grow, because they could be here for 10, 15 years. Their thought process is still very primitive, and it's kind of very detrimental to the society. So one advice I will always give fresh comers and people is that have your base in terms of people that you have. Your inner circle could be from your country, could be from different African countries, but learn to make friends or at least acquaintances, someone you can rely on from other races, other cultures. You get to learn from them because that's very important for ultimate human growth.
I see. So, from what you've been saying, I would want to take you back. Now, coming here at 16 years again, did you had kind of like to convince your parents why you wanted to come here all by yourself? Because at that time, probably you may be under the care of your parents. So,
of course, I was. To be honest, so back then, I remember, I think it was my dad that was asking me what I wanted to do after WAEC, which is obviously the high school examination back in Nigeria, in Africa then. And so we're talking about traveling and stuff like that. Now, part of me was like, okay, we're trying to apply to different countries, of course, but I was also very happy that it was Canada, because like, at the time, London just felt like 6 hours away from Nigeria. It feels like it's so close to home, and it feels like a little bit of a second Nigeria at the time, because it was so close. And I wanted to, if I was going to travel out, I wanted to be completely new, completely different, where I can literally not just see only Nigerians, but completely new people in different set of life. Because then what would be the difference if you left Nigeria, or Lagos specifically where I was born, and come to a city that is still pretty much like Lagos? The only difference would just be the weather condition in terms of snow or rain or something. So there won't be much, because the kind of people you're still going to be talking about and stuff like it will still be, you know, your people. So nothing really has changed, right? You don't grow that way. So we worked towards the visa and all those things, and I remember at that time it took a while. So I remember the day I got my visa, the next day I left the country actually. So I didn't even have time to say goodbye to friends or family because it was very sudden. I was already like 2 months behind in school at the time, so I had to go. So I remember when the woman was like, and I got my visa, I thought I was gonna come with my mom, and then when she knows where I'm staying, she would be like, okay, then she would go after maybe a couple of weeks when I'm settled. And the woman was like, nope, you gotta go. So she gave me a piece of paper and told me to follow instructions. And at 16, you're just like, what? And yeah, it was like Nigeria to Germany to Vancouver, and then you wear this shirt, and when you wear the shirt, somebody's gonna pick you up, and then from Vancouver, you're gonna go to Kelowna, wear the same shirt, this homestay family was gonna pick you up, and they're gonna drive you to Vernon, and then you're gonna meet your homestay family, which you're gonna stay with. It was, well,
that was a tough one.
Definitely, but I mean, thanks to God, made it work, honestly, and my mom's prayers. But yeah, but it was also sudden and happened so fast.
Okay, so fast forward, you have moved from Nigeria. Now you are in Canada. During your early days, did you ever miss home? Like you felt like going back home, homesick?
Yes, absolutely, especially because at first I didn't think I was going to come alone. I thought it was going to be my boy, but yes, I did. You get to feel it a lot more during like December, like festive period and stuff, because you have like, let's say, Canadians, so for example, they're going back home. Let's say you lived in Edmonton, but your family was in Calgary. You go back to Calgary or to Montreal, to Ontario, whatever your family is for the holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving and stuff like that. But my own case here, it's the 10,000 kilometers away or something like that. So you got to think twice.
It's not easy.
The flight is probably like $3,000 or something like that, depending on the time of the year, to go back. So, and I remember, but the thing was that I also had a friend of mine who I came with, like that I met when I was in BC. We happened to be in the same homestay family home, and so we actually came to Edmonton together, and so we became friends and stuff like that. And we had exactly similar, but we didn't know each other in Nigeria. We just happened to meet here. But again, he came along as well too, and we were both age mates at the time, so we used to confide in each other. So we became like, you know, best buddies, Simon, and like, so it was kind of very awesome, like in terms of like knowing somebody you can confide in and stuff. So sometimes when you're in like in residence at the time, you're only hanging out with like maybe other fellow international students from Korea, from China, because they had the same problem as well. They can't just go back home. It's literally like seeing your own problem in a different race and a different person. So I definitely did feel it sometimes, but the thing was that you know the goal. You know, like there's something that, like, you know, my mother used to say, oh, that is a very common thing in Nigeria. Like, you know where you came from, you know where you are, you know where you're going.
And you know what you want.
Exactly. So these are all factors that are like playing a role in terms of like, okay, yes, I miss home, but I came here for a purpose. I came here to do something. So it's like, okay, shake it off. You know, it is human to miss home. It is fine.
I get you.
Call them and stuff. And of course, calling was also a little tricky at the time because I had to use pay as you go. And in the first couple of years, which also was kind of tricky to explain to my parents at the time because I didn't understand it properly as well, because over here they did pay as you go contracts.
Yeah.
And so that I had to explain to them that it was pretty expensive, so I had to find a way and stuff like that. And then there's the case of the time difference to say, hey, you can't just call anytime because I might be in class, and vice versa. But it took a while, but we both got used to it on both ends at some point, but definitely did miss home.
Okay, so talking about purpose, what was the purpose? You said your mom told you you knew why, you knew where, and then what you wanted. So what actually was the purpose that made you decide to come to Canada?
Well, I mean, there's always like greener pastures. Of course, you like, you know, you want to further your education, want to be a better person and stuff. So I am like the first firstborn, so obviously as a man also you always have that responsibility as well too, and I have a couple of siblings as well too. And so the purpose, of course, like I said, greener pastures, you want to be better and, like, you know, educated and, like, you know, be a better man and grow up to be somebody and stuff. So that would be like the purpose. Be like a role model for my siblings, right? And not just that, to, you know, be also a good representative for my family as well, and also for Nigerians generally, right? Because like every country, we have the good and the bad eggs everywhere. So you just want to be on the good side or be the best version of yourself you can be. So those would be that. And then to find myself along the way, right?
Yeah.
That would be like...
and there's this last thing I would want to ask you with regards to you moving from Nigeria and then coming to Ghana. Canada. You know, Ghana and Nigeria, we had some common similarities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early morning when you're going to school or you're going to work, you would have to chase the bus and all those stuff. Was it okay for you when you came into Canada at a point where probably you were late and then you had to chase the bus? Because although you are chasing the bus in Canada, but the kind of hassle you have to go through over there in Nigeria and also going through here in Canada probably might not be the same, but maybe it could be of weather condition or something. How did you feel during those days?
I was lucky enough back in Nigeria that I didn't have to chase the bus very often, because like my parents were able to get my siblings and I a driver at the time just to help us, and sometimes it was my mother that would probably drive or something like that, or my siblings. My parents' siblings that would
kind of like your aunties and uncles.
Aunts and uncles that would take us to school or take us back, and sometimes like we had drivers or something like that too. But when I did get here, like obviously it was also a good thing that I went to BC first, because coming from like plus 30 degrees in Nigeria to minus 30, it's a 60-degree swing, would have been very drastic. But going to Vernon was just right. Get used to the not just the education system but the weather, because something so drastic can make you fall very sick. And it's not exactly ideal, right? So there's so many changes going on through your body that we can't always physically see, because now your body needs to adapt to snow. But Vernon was like, you know, I remember I think I came around like November or so it was just like in the fall. It was still it was cold, colder than what I'm accustomed to, but obviously still better than Edmonton, of course. But staying there for months in summertime, it was able to adjust. But Edmonton's a whole different story entirely, right? So I think when I came here, what I tried to do was I started talking to people from other countries and stuff, right? And that's how I was like, you know what? Why, instead of trying to live far away from school, why don't I live close to school? Because I knew I didn't drive. And one thing I always did was I was like, okay, I am going to try to do a lot of things that I can control. So, for example, what I mean by that is we had some of students who stay maybe on the south side. They will pay rent $500. but they would take the bus or train. I would prefer to stay closer downtown and pay 600 or 650, but I will only walk 5-10 minutes because I know I'm in control. I don't have to take the bus or
and
the
you're
train.
also closer to other amenities.
Exactly, because I was living downtown. Now the 150 is huge in terms of like, yes, you might save on money, but yes, you get a bus pass, but the time consuming. Like you wait for the bus, and sometimes when it's -20, -30, you're waiting in the bus stop. You can't tell if the bus is late or you're early, or like your hands are completely like
you can't even
frozen.
check your phone.
Your nerve endings, you can't feel them anymore. And like to check your phone, it's a problem because the gloves at this point, you need like lion skin to literally warm you up. And even after sometimes you come outside, you come inside, it takes 5 minutes for your fingers to start moving again. You know, you put it in hot water to try to get some movement, all of that. I had to go through that. You like running for the bus and stuff like that. But again, like, you know, think about when you have midterms at 8 a.m. in the morning. I said to myself, like, I know I had some friends who had to stay in school overnight because they were afraid that if they went home, they might miss the midterm or the test the next morning, because if they went home, they have to wake up at 4 or 5 to try to catch the bus to be early, because you don't want to catch the last bus, because what about traffic? Oh, if the bus gets stuck in snow. But for me, because I paid to live a little closer, I knew that I can just go home and walk. So I try to keep a lot of things in terms of what I can control. And I would walk to like Safeway or Superstore, or take the bus to Superstore, and then like, you know, then carry like my gym bag, make sure it was empty when I go, then it's full, put it on the bus and stuff like that. Sometimes I had friends who drove. And I remember I struck a deal with one of my friends where I lived in an apartment and I had a parking spot, but I had no car, so it was useless. So
why didn't you rent it out or something?
That was where the deal came from. So he lived on the south side. So I said, you know what? I was sharing the room with a couple of people, which was another thing that is important, because I wasn't going to be living by myself, paying significant sum. So I shared the room, like, you know, maybe an apartment or a house. You know, you get your own room and have the common area shared. So I said to him that, listen, none of us have a car, but it comes with the apartment. So if you park in a spot, right, because you're coming from south or wherever, you take me grocery shopping every week, and you can have my parking spot. It was a win-win. I don't have a car, so it's useless, and he doesn't have to pay for parking, and I live 5 minutes away from school. So he will drive from Southside, he will park in my spot, and I only needed him once a week to take me grocery shopping. That was literally it. So we did that for a while, but these were all like kind of like relationships I had to build with different people over time. But it was about like knowing that it's very important to not just be friends with only people from your country, because many of the things that I knew were from like just listen to people from like, listen, somebody from India or Pakistan might have exactly the same thing as you, the same walk of life. The only difference is just the starting point in terms of like the origin. And like, you know, when you are in class or something like that, because I went to UVA for 1 year and then went to McEwen, which is where I graduated from, you just talk to people and you're just like, man, you know, we pretty much have the same thing and stuff like that. You meet people from Zimbabwe, people from Congo, people from Ghana, like people from China, Japan and stuff, so on and so forth, and like even Lebanon as well too. And it was just very interesting about like the plight of international students.
Okay, so with all these caliber of people you found yourself around, what was the best advice you got from any of them? How you are going to live your life in this country to maneuver your way around?
I would say advice was always coming left, right, and center, and also observation. But I think that one of the biggest ones I could probably say is being open-minded. That it's very simple, but being open-minded opens doors in a way, like being street smart. I am not going to act like I know everything. I may be well versed in a topic, but I may still act like I'm not, because whatever little thing I might take from you, I might tweak what I already know, and it might just go from 95 to 98%, something I already bought. Being open-minded will probably be one of the overall, in terms of like what I can say contributes to a lot of things, in terms of like that, because when you're open-minded, you can be street smart. Because street smart will always beat book smart all day, to me at least. That's what I think. Because with being street smart, you can adapt. You can find yourself in a room with high dignitaries and stuff like that, and then you find yourself in a room with like crazy people. But guess what? You blend in.
But then you know how to go around.
Exactly. But it comes from being open-minded. Because you met people and say, you're not stuck up and say, oh no, these people are beneath me. But you can learn from them, right? So I would say that would definitely be probably the best, like at least being there.
Okay, so now let's move into it. At what point did your painting, your sketches, and all those stuff came in?
So I used to draw as a kid back in Nigeria for a little bit, but then when I came to Canada, I stopped for over 10 years because like drawing was the least of my worries. When you're an international student, you're trying to get your GPA up, you're trying to work. You can only work 20 hours a week from September to April, and then you have to work like a mad person in the spring and summer because you need to make some international student money for that time. So there was nothing really like hobbies at the time. Then just before the pandemic, I remember one day I like watching this cartoon, South Park. I used to love it a lot, that and Family Guy. So I remember buying one of the posters. So one day I woke up in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. So I was looking at the poster and I just like, man, I love Eric Cartman. It's so funny. And then I said to myself, I wonder if I can still draw. Meanwhile, I haven't done it in, like I said, over 10 years. So I took down the poster at 3:30 in the morning. I grabbed a pencil and I grabbed paper and I drew each character, all 4 of them. And I was like, well, it's not bad actually. It's been a while, but it's not bad. But I enjoyed the feeling. So then I was like, okay, why don't I start doing cartoons? And I started, because I also watch a lot of cartoons, anime and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, gradually enjoying it. And then when the pandemic hit, I was lucky enough I wasn't laid off, so I still had a full-time job. But after work, when the government was like, everybody stay inside, okay, after work there was nothing to do, so I started watching YouTube videos, started teaching myself, like, hey, how do you draw this kind of things and stuff like that. So I started trying trial and error, and I realized that every single time I was drawing, I forgot what else was going on in the world. So I could sit in one spot for 5 hours, 6 hours and zone out. So then there was the whole George Floyd, when he passed away, he died in 2020. Yeah, 2020. And that was a very toxic time as a black person. Yeah. And there was a lot of protests, and rightly so and whatnot. And so it was just very toxic. So what I did was I just turned off social media and I decided to focus on sketching. And I started sketching and realized that I was not thinking about anything negative. Because every single time I was drawing, it made me happy. And I just realized there were no worries in the world, Now, of course, after that, I realized, oh man, I've been sketching for hours. I need to eat something or whatever. So the feeling began, but I never thought in my wildest dreams, 6 years later, I'll be drawing some of these things that I currently have now. So actually the drawing over here, this one called Black is Beautiful, this is why it's like my #1, because that's a
Can I see that? So now, okay, so is there any secret behind this particular artwork?
So this one here was obviously most of my works are done with charcoal, pencil, charcoal and graphite, and that's really all I knew how to, because I've always loved black and white drawings when I used to look at other artists and stuff. So when I started messaging people, artists that I knew that were very good at this, and I was fortunate enough, a couple of people actually answered me, even though they had plenty of followers. Then they took the time out to help me out and show me a little bit of what I can do. But the point of this drawing was just to look like it was just a little girl that was just happy, simplicity, water dripping down her face on a very hot day. And it was the simplicity that literally got me. And I remember reaching out to the photographer who took the picture at the time, because this is one of those photographers that just travels around the world and takes pictures of people.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, if you ever see this little girl, make sure you show her this drawing at the time. But yeah, it was definitely just one of those things that, like, you know, our eyes are different, the water, everything. It was just simplicity and just beauty in, like, you know, the simplest form.
I can see another one behind you. What's that?
So this one here,
Is that a racket?
yes, this is a racket. So this is Naomi Osaka, the tennis player, and I'm a big fan of tennis. So I love playing tennis as well too. So I also used to try to like to draw side views, because they're so cool, and sometimes it saved me having to draw two eyes. So this is actually the first drawing we're looking at, was like when I'm actually drawing both, because humans, we have different eyeballs, eyes, like different shapes, features and stuff. But I just thought it was really cool to do this Naomi Osaka one with the racket, just a side view. You can tell that she's concentrating.
Yeah.
There's probably like a
The
serve.
view, the focus.
A serve about to come in, and if you see her hair curly as well, you can see she has a cap on. And I hope one day Naomi Osaka can see it as well too. That I'm a big fan as well too, and like, you know, been like black and Japanese as well too, and I think it's really cool. So a lot of my drawings tend to, like, you know, bring up like black people, black culture, as, like, you know, to also know that we as black people, we're not a monolith. You know, we're capable of doing so many things, and we excel in pretty much anything
What
and
do we say,
everything.
multitasker?
Pretty much, yeah. That's what we do good at. You can find one black person that can sing, that can draw, that can like do act, so many things like that, and like, you know, and I think that's why, like, there's a lot of diversity in the kind of like drawings I do, but it still tends to center around like black culture.
Yeah, I really share the same sentiments like you're saying. Like earlier when we were having the conversation, I told you I was into graphic design.
That's correct.
I moved into photography and videography, and I also felt the need to also adapt to my skills, where I had to also learn digital marketing and web development.
It's funny that, like, the way you went from one to the other, if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, if you had gone from, let's say, 3, 2, 1, 4, you would also have a completely different skill set, because you would have, let's say you learned, like, you know, digital marketing first before photography. You'd be a different guy from photography to digital marketing. It's kind of like, even though they might be intertwining a little bit, they all have different skill sets, and learning one before the other can always impact your thought process on things as well too. And it's quite fascinating, because, like, you know, with art, pencil is really neat, but when I talk to people that use acrylic, that use oil and stuff, they have a different thought process. They're like, so good, I can never draw like this. But then I'm telling them that I can't draw with acrylic. Pencil is all I know. You know, it's funny because they have such masterpieces, and I'm like, one day. But then they're looking at mine, I was like, I wish, but it's just about, like, humans, sometimes the way we're equipped.
Yeah, so I can see another beautiful piece here. Can you tell us about this too?
Yeah, absolutely. So this one here, I did it, like, I think late last year, 2025. Most of my drawings are always in black and white, so this was my first time I wanted to do something with color. So I called this one Island Fever. So obviously, if you look at it every time, it reminds you of, like, it just feels like you need to go on vacation. So I thought, okay, you know what? I like to draw pencils and stuff. Don't really use a lot of color. Pencils are my strength. So I thought, okay, if I still keep the value where I use, like, pencil for the face, the skin, which is what I'm good at, but the features around it, I can use color, so you can have the best of both worlds without ruining the work. Soon enough, I'm hoping to get better. Maybe one day I'll start being able to do skin in, like, color, but for now I'll stick to my black and white. Or maybe I'll just remain this way and do the skin in black and white, but color around it, so you get the best of both worlds. But, you know, so with this one, you have a woman, obviously, with Jamaican flag right here. And in addition to that, I've recently decided to even put it on a phone case.
That's amazing.
Currently, right now, I have the phone case for the Island Fever in iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I have it in S24 and S25. I also have it in form of a passport cover as well too.
Oh,
and so
this is so amazing.
Thank you. So if you definitely, if you like traveling and whatnot, I have this. I have another version of my artwork. I have this in also iPhone and S24. This is one of my other drawings called Serenity. So that's a woman that is at peace with herself.
I love the texture of the material.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good, and like the people that have bought it as well, I've really loved it. Maybe in the future I'll try to do like one of different countries, but I wanted to start small.
And that was sell, trust me. Let's say I'm looking at the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then you have varieties.
Yeah, that would
probably. Yeah.
That would be really good
really
with all the nations that are going to be participating. And being that Canada is one of the three host countries too, will be quite fascinated with Mexico and the States.
Wow. I think I have other ones here, but before we do that, I can see you have something in your shirt, and I still see same photograph here.
That's correct. So this particular shirt,
let me see if I can pick it up. No, you can keep talking.
Yeah, so for that would definitely be one of my favorite drawings as well. This one has it's called Dear Future Self, so it has different meanings. It could be a little girl envisioning greatness for herself. It could be a girl fixing her mom's crown. She's looking at an enchanted mirror, and there's different interpretations, but most important thing is about for black girls to be able to see themselves in great light, to know that you can be anything you want to be, and it's very important to have that kind of self-esteem, especially with social media nowadays, where there's always comparison.
You advise your younger self or a friend who is coming from the African region to pay attention to their craft and work things around?
I definitely would. I wouldn't say I did at first, to be honest with you, because that was one of the reasons why I didn't sketch for over 10 years when I came here, is because I wasn't focused on it. I had to focus on survival, which kind of takes
I'm still loving this, trust me. When you mentioned focus,
yeah,
I felt like
I do have to probably show you my portfolio over there, so we swipe through all the other ones that are not even being showcased right now. I think it's very important that what you want to do is that yes, you do focus on survival, but if let's say you like to do lashes, you like to sketch, you like to sing, if you just want to write down a list of things you actually like to do or you would like to get back to someday in life, when you write it down, maybe you put it on your fridge that you look at every day, or on your bedside, or something that you always consistently see every day, so even something you're fighting for someday, I like to get back to this. And I would recommend something I didn't think of before, but I'm thinking of it now, is to write it down Google Drive, because then that way you can even have access to it outside of your home. Imagine one day you think of an idea, but you're in the bus, it's a long ride from whether you're downtown to West Side, let's say 45 minutes bus ride or 1 hour. You just instead of being it's on Instagram, you think of an idea, you just write it on your Google Drive so you can always have access to it. Because sometimes it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, that survival problem will probably almost always be there. Because imagine having to worry about how you're going to come up with $9,000 for school fees, and then while there's still rent, and you haven't even talked about feeding and stuff, right? And
transportation.
Exactly, right? And in my case, right, I did have the school bus pass, but sometimes in the summertime, you don't always have that because you're not taking any classes and all the other things that come with it. But again, that was why I decided to stay downtown, to try to eliminate several of this problem, because if I stayed south or west and I wasn't taking classes, it's going to cost much more. And and by being friends with people, different people, you sometimes solve problems that you didn't even know that you had, or you would they would solve them for you. This could have been a problem. And for example, there were times where okay, I knew I wasn't taking classes in the spring and summer, but I needed a bus pass because I didn't suddenly start driving, right? So the good thing was sometimes some students were okay, yeah, bus passes, but I didn't know at the time that, oh, you might, because I thought the bus passes may work all year round. But then they're like, oh, no, you do need spring and summer. But imagine if I had gone into a bus without any money, and I thought my school ID would have worked. It would have been very embarrassing, and so many other things like that. So I recommend definitely writing the list of things down and maybe try as much as possible to even just attempt it, so you don't go like me where you go like 10 years without, because I was lucky enough that whatever triggered me to draw in the middle of the night, that willpower never left, and I consistently tried to do, because sometimes some people can do it and never go back because they either forgot, because it's like going to the gym, right? Getting muscle, you have to consistently work on it and train, because the skills sometimes can leave you.
Yeah.
And I was rusty when I came back to it, but I would say consistently drawing and enjoying myself helped me to refine my skills, and I am glad I did it. So even now when I go months without it, because I'm playing sports, I want to be outside, the first few weeks when I come back, I'm maybe struggling, but that's okay, because I know it was self-inflicted, and I did not miss out, because I was like, okay, I enjoyed the sports now. Wintertime is back, I can't play sports as much, so art is there for me. So that's how I take breaks from it, because then I'm not burnt out in any way, and I'm like looking forward to going back to it. So it's not always going to be fun or something, but know that it's there. It's like an outlet, therapy actually, in a way, for me.
Okay, so with this advice, someone is watching us, and then he has really paid heed to your advice and would want to actually go into a business with their craft. Is it really difficult to have a business or get yourself registered in Canada, especially in Edmonton?
Well, again, this is something that again, it's always a constant learning process. It depends on what the field is. Like, for example, if somebody's selling like meat pie or selling food, I don't have a lot of knowledge in that, because that's not my field, but I know that there's a lot more stricter rules, and rightly so, for people that sell food and water, because you're ingesting it into your system rather than me that I'm just selling art. So there's a lot more stricter criteria, at least from what I see from other vendors. Like you need water, you need like water stations and all the other things, hygiene, whatever. So those ones might be a little bit trickier, but doesn't mean it's difficult, because obviously there's a lot of like black vendors who sell food and water and drinks and stuff. So for me though, I won't say it's been like extremely like crazy and stuff, but there's always like things you want to always stay on top of. For sure, licensing and whatever, your documents, whatever, because again, this is we live in a Western world where you want to make sure that you always have your papers up to date, whatever it is that you're doing, because you do not want to get into any kind of like, oh, forgot to register that and blah blah blah. So, and also you need to do your research on what kind of business you're trying to go for. Is it more like entrepreneurs, is it more like an incorporation or whatever, partnership? So many things that you have to learn about, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so do you plan on taking this business to Nigeria anytime soon?
Like, I won't say yes or no, but like, taking it to Nigeria would mean that like it's expanding, and like I always would like my business and like my hobbies to expand and stuff, so it would be a great thing in the future, but I can't say at this time.
I see. So kind of like wrapping up, is there any advice that you would also want to add up to what we've just talked about?
In terms of like what people are,
like a generic advice that you'd want to, especially with we are actually dealing with people who are young and actually taking up the space of our elderly people, right? So that they make the right choices. Like you made mention of people coming in trying to prioritize what they need to get done first before they,
well, like I mentioned before about like being open-minded, it is important to try to learn from people, and like, it might not necessarily be something that you want to do or something like that, but it's like if you learn from other people and see what they do and stuff like that, it might give you just the right idea for whatever you want to incorporate in your stuff, right? Because then you're like, oh, I take A from this guy, I take B from this guy, D from him, and something like that. Then I create my own stuff. So again, it comes back to being open-minded and willing to learn and being easy to work with. That is something that I think eludes some people. Being easy to work with and collaborate with, it's a very important skill. People's skills and stuff, because then if you're difficult to work with, you might lose out. You will lose out on a lot of opportunities and just being humble and stuff. So I think that like just being like, you can have your personality and stuff like that, but just being open-minded would definitely still be the simplest, but still a little bit challenging to some people.
Yeah.
And I some people I do know why, because of where our upbringing is coming from, Africa and stuff like that, or from wherever you're coming from. But I would always recommend to try to stimulate the brain one way or the other, because again, it's like a muscle in its own way. Because like if you're having different things and stuff like that, then you're like, okay, you're reading today, tomorrow you're doing something else, like your brain is consistently, okay, yeah, I'm adding to it, like the dictionary. Actually, so we've been talking about art for now, but recently I started trying to do like voiceover narrations.
Oh yeah,
as well too. And
talk to me about that.
Yeah, so it's just been something I just started doing for fun, and right now I'm still trying to find like my niche. I created like a YouTube page.
So that YouTube page is separate from the...
So like, well, I'm actually combining it together, like Art with Ola, but like the YouTube page, the Instagram page, I created a different page called Voiced by Ola. And so those are more like voiceover narrations. So Art with Ola would be the umbrella term, because voiceover narrations are different. It's a kind of art as well too. So, but Art with Ola, so Voiced by Ola is just more like underneath, with like the drawings as well too. So with the YouTube page, it's kind of like I like watching Animal Planet a lot when I'm sketching.
I see.
Sometimes even when I like to listen to music. So it's kind of like just background noise or something like. So I don't always like watching something too interesting when I'm drawing, because it's distracting to the brain, because I'm sitting there. But with Animal Planet, I can hear what's going on. Sometimes when something really far crazy is about to happen, I look up for like maybe a minute or two, then I go back to what I'm doing and stuff. So you just pay attention to that. So I recently decided to tap into doing voiceover narration just for fun. And again, I have no official training, so the same thing with the art. It's all self-taught with the sketching. I pretty much started watching YouTube videos, and that's what I'm trying to do with the like voiceover narrations. Like, so I'm always open to learning and stuff, and watching videos of experts and stuff, just like I did when I started sketching as well too. And but yeah, if there's anybody that is writing a book or that has videos that wants me to narrate, they can always reach out on my Instagram on Ola Forever, which is again OLA4 REVER. And yeah, and the other Instagram page is Voiced by Ola, but on YouTube it's Art with Ola, and yeah, they can reach out to me, and we can always work something out and collaborate.
I like it. We kind of like wrapping up. Would you want to share with me or show me some of your shirts, like your outfits? You have some around so that we can see how they look like.
Yeah.
No worry. You can just.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm loving this.
So this, I was wearing the t-shirt earlier, so like I mentioned before, this particular artwork also comes in a hoodie, white, red, and black. And it's one of my favorite ones, and I call it Dear Future Self, which is, like I said, it's a little girl envisioning greatness for herself. And yeah, words of affirmation, self-esteem, that's all incorporated into this drawing. And also, like I mentioned, some people want to buy the artwork where it's placed in their homes. Some people want to wear it.
So how much does this go for?
So the hoodies go for $65, and shirts, the t-shirts go for $39.99. And
I think it's a fair deal.
I'm
I
sorry.
think it's a fair deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it, and the material is really great as
Yeah.
well too. And more often than not, I don't even. This is I'm wearing an extra large. It's got a lot of room. Normally, I wear a large, and I still very comfy.
Yeah.
And it's very warm, especially like you see warm. Sometimes I just wear only like tank top, singlet underneath, and it's perfect. Sometimes nothing, and I'm still very comfortable, and it pretty much does the job. The reason why I went for extra large in this one is because I'm a guy and it's white. I need the room just because I don't want to like sweat too much or anything like that. But if I was wearing maybe the red one or like the black one, I can go for, you know, like a large size. So it's not, and with white, you know, sometimes you can't maintain white, and a small thing like, you know, it gets to be a little dirty. So I needed a little bit of room for it.
And how much is this also going for?
So for the passport covers and the phone cases go for $20 at this time, yes. And all of these can be found on my website at artwithola.com. And people can always message me as well too if they wanted a commission work for like their artworks or something like that, yes.
Do they have to come in to pick it up, or you do delivery as well?
I do deliveries like
within Canada?
I do deliveries within Canada, and also deliver to the States as well too. But yes, they can always message me on Instagram as well, Ola Forever, or like just go on my website and message me. Now, if you're already living in Edmonton, we can always work out a deal so you don't have to go to the website. You can find whatever you want on the website. We can and make the payment somewhere else, so that way I can try to save you some money. If you're already living in the city, then we can meet in the middle. You can just pick it up instead.
And are you okay to share your phone number just in case someone would want to first call in before they make a purchase or something?
At this point, not quite, but so email is probably the best bet. So it's info@artwithola.com. That is the ideal email for me, but depends. So yeah, again, I'll repeat, it's info@artwithola.com. So with emails and like, so like that's the best way to reach out and try to reply back within 24 hours, irrespective of like at least on weekdays, and of course on weekends maybe slightly a little bit more, but yes.
Thank you, Ola. I'm really glad and happy you opened your doors to me.
Thank you for collaborating and reaching out.
I'm also looking at also joining you in your subsequent events that you talked about.
Yes.
Also trying to not just meet up, but also try to also help promote and highlight what you have been doing. Because that's what I do. Most of the jobs that I do for the people within our Black community, and as a way of giving back. This is what I do. So I would want to say a big thank you to you for just opening your doors onto me.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe you only you don't have anything to say, but then if you have something to say, you can, and then right after that you can draw the curtains down.
Well, what I would like to say is I just want to thank you for reaching out. It's always like I know that when I first started this several years ago trying to sketch and stuff, I reached out to people as well too who I thought were better than me, and a few of them replied to me, and I appreciated them a lot. So like I know that if there's ever any upcoming artist or someone that wants to start sketching that reaches out to me, I would also like to pass it on the little knowledge that I know, because that was what I needed several years ago. So being able to uplift a fellow brother and sister is like, it's ideal, because again I was on the other side as well too, so I was constantly learning. But yeah, most importantly, I'm very glad that you've been able to give me a platform to talk, and I don't know who might be watching or listening, but hopefully I've been able to give you an incentive to try out a new hobby, or do something that you've always wanted to do, or you know, or try something new.
Sure.
But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
No problem. Cheers.
Okay.